Hey everyone, this is Codemic. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most underrated products Microsoft has ever released, and how it continues to influence things today from the Xbox One to Windows 10. This is Abandoned History, Episode 13, The Story of Microsoft's Zune. In 2001, Apple released the first generation iPod, and it completely disrupted the personal music space. With the famous tagline, 1,000 songs in your pocket, everyone took notice, including Microsoft. Microsoft's first plan to combat the iPod was to use the same strategy it used to dominate the PC market, and let third-party manufacturers use their software to make MP3 players for Windows. These players were made by Samsung, iRiver, and Creative, and they really failed to catch on. So by 2006, Apple really had a stranglehold on the personal music market, and no other company could realistically challenge their dominance, except maybe for one with piles of cash like their old rival Microsoft. Partnering with Toshiba, the two companies started development on the Toshiba 1089, a device that would be based off of Toshiba's already existing Gigabit S music player. Microsoft decided to name the product Zune, and it was launched near the end of the year on November 14th, 2006, just in time for the holiday season. At launch, the first Zune had very mixed reception. Design-wise, for some reason, Microsoft decided to go with a strange brown color at launch, although white and black were also offered. Its size was pretty bulky when compared to competing iPod models such as the iPod Nano. Along with some questionable design decisions, the launch price was a whopping $250. That's really such a massive price when you consider this was just a device to listen to music. The original Zune went on to be known as the Zune 30 and never really hit that mass market appeal like Microsoft had hoped, but they did continue to develop and refine the Zune line with new models that we'll be looking at now. On November 13th, 2007, the world changed with the launch of the second generation Zune devices. Well, maybe not. So with the release of the Zune 80 and the Zune 4, 8, and 16, so you can tell at the time that Microsoft really hadn't nailed down how to name their devices yet. The bizarre numbering system the company used comes from the capacities of the respective devices. The second generation of Zunes also refined the hardware look and feel. The design of the new Zune really echoed iPods of the day, with a touch-sensitive semicircle that was placed below the screen for navigation. Now that has to sound familiar. The Zune Marketplace was also upgraded and new games were added. So this is where it really starts to get interesting. Along with all these new features, a totally new interface was added that was later called the Metro Design Language. If you're using a Windows 8 or 10 computer, an Xbox, or basically any other Microsoft device made after 2010, you're seeing the Metro Design Language. The language calls for big bold text and clean simple shapes, much like you'll see with the live tiles of Windows 8 and 10, and also on the Xbox One. With the release of third generation Zune models in 2008, Microsoft kept the hardware relatively similar to the second generation, and also stuck with that modern Metro design language we were talking about before. The big features added on the software end of things was the addition of Zune Pass. For $9.99 a month, or $99 a year, Zune Pass subscribers could stream all the music they wanted, as well as download 10 extra tracks a month to keep. This is a really revolutionary feature for the time, and showed Microsoft was really trying to innovate in an effort to combat Apple in the hyper-competitive personal music market, although the effort was fruitless in the end, as we all know. With the launch of the iPhone and iPod Touch in 2007, Apple had again completely changed the personal music market. It would really be another 2 years for Microsoft to make a device that could realistically challenge the iPod Touch with the launch of the 4th generation Zune on September 15th, 2009. This Zune would simply be called Zune HD and posted impressive specs for the day really. This included a whopping 128 megabytes of RAM, 16, 32, or 64 gigs of internal storage, as well as a 480 or 272 OLED display. The HD in Zune HD comes from its ability to play HD radio from within an app. So what really made the iPod Touch and the iPhone popular was the ability to use third-party apps on the systems. So a number of high-profile apps were released for the Zune HD, including a port of Project Gotham Racing, AudioSurf Tilt, Facebook, and even Twitter. Despite the huge effort by Microsoft to market the device as a true competitor to the iPod Touch, the Zune HD really failed to catch on, much like its siblings. With launch prices of $220 for the 16GB version and $290 for their 32GB version, the pricing was just too high to justify getting a Zune HD over the more established iPod Touch. Finally admitting defeat, Microsoft announced the discontinuation of all Zune players on March 15, 2011. The discontinuation of the Zune really came as no surprise, as after 5 years they had really managed to not capture a significant market share against the iPod. A study at the time done by NPD Group indicated that the Zune was not even in the top 5 selling music players in the US. Admitting defeat, Microsoft shifted all Zune developers over to Windows Phone and asked loyal users to buy Windows Phones instead. The Zune software would live on as a Windows Phone app for some time before being renamed to Xbox Music in 2012, with that service being renamed again to Groove in 2015. So that's the story of the Zune, the little music player that, despite its best efforts, couldn't topple the giant iPod. Today, the Zune is just that, a piece of abandoned history. This has been Codemic, and I hope you enjoyed the show. So if you have an awesome idea for a future episode of Abandoned History, please leave it in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon.